You mentioned sexual abuse. How common is that?
Well, we hear a lot more about sexual abuse now because it certainly is on the rise, and unfortunately, what's sad is that the statistics are really not capturing all the cases because the essence of sexual abuse is that it's intensely personal, and so if you have a child, for example, who's being abused, he certainly might be threatened by his abuser not to talk about it, and he also knows that there's something deep and dark about it, so he'll keep it a painful secret. And of course, this adds to the fact that we don't have proper reporting of the sexual abuse frequencies and statistics today.
What exactly do you mean by sexual abuse?
Okay, when we're dealing with sexual abuse, I think we have to remember that we're talking about a God-given gift of sexuality that is really being violated, that is really being disrespected by an abusive person. And so we're talking about really, at some level, a premature contact to a person in their most intimate parts, in their most intimate being, which is the deeper, who I am, male or female.
Mm. It sounds as if you're saying that the abuser doesn't have to touch the victim in order for sexual abuse to occur. Is this true?
Okay, well, see, it's possible for, let's say, a mother who is noticing that her adolescent son is beginning to develop, let's say, in his physical anatomy, his sexual anatomy, more and more, and she, let's say, might begin to take a liking to him in too excessive a way visually. That could be a form of sexual abuse. So it's definitely not necessary to have contact, touching going on.
Mm. What are the signs that someone has been sexually abused?
Okay, sexual abuse can cause a lot of different severe symptoms, such as depression, a severe sense of shame, compulsive cleaning, for example, even drug addiction, alcoholism. So these are getting pretty serious.
What about abuse in the spiritual realm?
Okay, now we're getting to darker, deeper, more ugly types of realities. And you might have, for example, spiritual or moral abuse whereby, let's say, a family who's involved in a cult actually sells their children to be used in satanic cult practices.
Mm-hmm.
So this is very serious, what we're talking about.
How would you characterize this type of abuse?
I think most therapists today would prefer to use the term ritual abuse, or SRA in satanic cult cases, satanic ritual abuse.
Mm-hmm. What would be particular signs that someone has been ritually abused?
Okay, ritual abuse can actually cause a combination of the different kind of symptoms that we talked about with verbal, physical, and sexual abuse. But more importantly, we're finding the symptom of double or even multiple personalities in the victims of spiritual or ritual abuse.
Obviously, all these types of abuse can be extremely damaging, but are there factors that would make certain individuals more vulnerable than others?
Yes, certainly if a person is being exposed to a more serious form of abuse, such as sexual, for example, over verbal abuse, which is less severe, will have more severe wounding. The other thing to keep in mind, too, is that there are certain personalities that suffer more, are wounded more easily. For example, people that are sensitive, very tender-hearted, and actually very intelligent. To a certain degree, you might say that people like this mimic or are close to the heart of God, and so they're more deeply pierced by these type of imperfections in the abuser.